Thank you for joining me, everybody. Today's video is all about food, so I hope you're hungry. Unfortunately, it is about the three worst kinds of food in RimWorld, arguably. We are going to cover nutrient paste, pemmican, and kibble in this video. I'm not trying to determine which one's better out of the three. We're just going to be talking about the different properties they have because they are each useful in their own situation and circumstance. So let's jump right into it. And first, we are going to begin with the nutrient paste meals. So let's cover the pros of this particular food item. The first is that they have a 300% nutritional efficiency. And what does that mean exactly? Well, that just means basically that it takes very little raw ingredients to make one meal. So they have a very, very high efficiency compared to the other foods. The second big pro for the nutrient paste meal is that they take no effort to create. All your pawns have to do is load up the hoppers with the whatever raw ingredients you determine, and the pawns can then take the meals right from the machine. So you don't even need a cook in your colony if you're totally reliant on the paste dispensers. The third big bonus is that there's no food poisoning risk with these meals whatsoever, like there is with cooked meals. All right, and some of the downsides of the nutrient paste is that unless you have the transhumanist meme in your ideology, your colonists will experience a -4 mood loss from eating these. And in addition to that, if you happen to put insect meat or human meat or nutrifungus and they don't like those particular types, they will experience the -4 for eating nutrient paste and an additional mood hit for eating whatever disgusting product they didn't like too. So that's important to keep in mind. You can't hide insect meat in a nutrient paste meal from your colonists. That's not going to go over well. Anyway, there's another downside, which is basically you have to research this technology, especially if you're tribal, and it does take electricity to use. So the last small downside is that you can't really stockpile nutrient paste meals. It's not possible without a mod to take meals from this and then put them in your freezer or cooler. They have to take them one at a time. Now, there is a trick you can do to kind of force them to take one and then draft the colonist, and they will drop the meal and then undraft them and they will go grab another meal. But it's tedious, and you can see how that would be a pain to even get a stack of like 20 meals built up. So that's the last real downside of the nutrient paste. And the second food item we're going to talk about is pemmican. So this is a very, very handy food item. Tribal starts begin with the knowledge on how to make this right away. And the first big benefit is that it can be created at either a stove or a campfire. Now there is a difference in the efficiency of creating at either of those two things. Of course, it's going to be more efficient to create it at a stove versus a campfire, so keep that in mind. But it also requires no skill, no cooking skill whatsoever to make pemmican. So even if you start with no cook or just a single pawn and they have no cooking skill, they can still create pemmican. It has a nutritional efficiency of 160%, so it's almost half the efficiency of the nutrient paste, but it's still good compared to some of the other more lavish meals. Now, it's very neutral in terms of its mood buff. It does not give any positive or negative effects to the mood whatsoever, unless, of course, you try and sneak in insect or nutrient or human meat. Then your pawns will have a mood debuff, just like any other food. The biggest positive is that it preserves food, essentially. So raw meat, perishables like fruits and vegetables, when you create pemmican, it will last 70 days. A fresh pemmican lasts 70 days. Now, there's another side benefit here, just like kibble. You can actually prepare pemmican with meat and then feed it to an animal such as that's an herbivore, such as a muffalo, who would not normally eat meat, and vice versa. You can, for instance, feed a warg pemmican that has fruits and vegetables in it. So it is a way to sneak that food into an animal that doesn't normally eat it. The last interesting fact about pemmican is that it comes in discrete bits. So what does that mean exactly? So if a colonist were to come by to this stack, which has 18 in it, they wouldn't just take one and leave 17. They would take the whole stack, as opposed to a nutrient paste meal where they would come by and just take one and leave the rest of it, because Pemmican comes in small quantities that add up to a full meal, basically. This has some benefits. It can help you avoid overfeeding your colonists and your animals, which if you're really trying to min-max, in an early difficult start, food is very, high pressure, that can be helpful. So that's the last thing we'll talk about with Pemmican. And the last food item we're going to be talking about is kibble today. Now, a lot of players probably have never fed their pawns kibble before, or maybe even considered it, but it is possible. And in a really, really tight situation, it can save lives. So keep that in mind. Now, kibble itself has a great quality that it can be crafted at the butcher table or even a butcher spot. So it requires essentially no fuel or energy whatsoever to create. Now there is a big difference in the efficiency of crafting it at the butcher spot versus the table. So try and create it at the butcher table if you can't afford the resources to craft one. It has a nutritional efficiency of 125, so it's not that great, but one of the big benefits of it is that you can create it with hay, which is a very fast and easy growing crop. So that's another big bonus about kibble, is it's a way to feed your human pawns hay. It's the only way that a human can consume hay in the game. Now, there is another positive, which we talked about with the pemmican, which is that you can feed carnivorous animals vegetables and you can feed herbivorous animals meat using kibble. Now there is a big speed factor here when creating it. It only takes 7.5 seconds to craft 50 kibble. That is the fastest food crafting speed in the game. So keep that in mind. And of course, that is at a butcher table, not at a butcher spot. It never goes bad. And as we mentioned, there's no fuel costs. Also, of course, no food poisoning either. So that's a positive. Now, the big downside to feeding your human pawns kibble is that it brings with it a -12 to their mood. So keep that in mind. And of course, just like with the nutrient paste, if you try and slip in some human meat, insect meat, or fungus, that will stack. Those negative moods will stack with the -12. So there you go, guys. That covers the 3 least regarded meals in RimWorld, but also can save your pawns' lives. So keep that in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this information. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will see you on the next one.